You do realize we actually have intro music?
Oh, yeah.
You have to do it yourself.
Thank you, Justin Norman, for that intro music.
Welcome to Conscious Guys Get Laid More.
Eventually. Episode number
18.
18.
Dude, we're almost to 20.
I know.
Gosh.
I feel good.
Me too.
We're an adult. We can buy cigarettes.
Yeah? Is that what that is?
And we can vote.
Yeah. We could get drafted.
We could get drafted. Do you see that women may be coming, maybe eligible to be drafted now?
Yeah, I heard that. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, what?
Why?
Just my initial reaction was, oh no. Like, not because I don't believe women should be in the military or can handle anything like that, but being drafted in and of itself, it's like,
oh, just the whole idea of a draft.
Just the whole idea of a draft.
Regardless of gender.
Like for me as a man, like growing up at 18, I tried to get into the Army and fly helicopters. They didn't want me because I had asthma, but like being told you have to go off, be trained for a war and possibly die, that sucks. And then to be in a group that didn't have to do that, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But now if that's going to be a possibility, you don't have any kind of safety net. So like the whole draft idea, I don't know about that.
Do you not like the fact that that women are now being eligible to? Would you have preferred them to not?
I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I'm conflicted about it. I just think that maybe it would be better to not have a draft, but then have some kind of like citizenship or other really great thing that you could have if you volunteered for service.
Do you know that Israel you have to volunteer, or you have to serve 2 years, I believe it is?
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. It's a mandate to support the government that you live under or with.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting idea.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's weird. I knew a couple of people who went and did that. Like they were Americans, they wanted dual citizenship. They joined the Israeli army. They served 2 years, and it's quite a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to really love your government.
I was thinking more along the lines of like, there's a like for you girls, if you're listening.
Sound like a what? Like this?
Like a what? And there's an too. You can count them all. Starship Troopers.
If we had somebody that was editing, like really editing, and there was like a counter at the bottom, was like ping, 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 ping.
That'd be a like.
Oh,
we need like a
girls
court stenographer who could type really fast.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Starship Troopers. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't remember it.
Where to be a citizen, you had to serve in the military.
Oh. How did that movie turn out?
Oh, people were losing limbs and dying, and it was incredible. They were fighting space bug aliens. It was weird.
So then is the moral of the story we shouldn't have a draft because we will lose limbs?
No. More of, here's a concept, and for people to think that they're better than other people, they have to do something to prove their worth. And fighting an alien race so that it's larger than the human race makes it a little more palatable because bugs have no brains and they're just wanting to destroy you. So it's easier to kill them. Anyway, I mean, it gets into a whole bunch of philosophical things in my mind that we don't really need to go into. We've got a lot of other topics besides Starship Troopers.
I was starting to bite. No, that's fine. We'll move.
We can come back to it in a later
I'll need
episode.
to go watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it. And then
bonus footage if you want to stay for that conversation.
Yeah. So, how's it going?
It's going great.
Guess what? Today's my 8-year anniversary.
8 years with Cassie.
8 year with Cassandra.
Oh my God, dude. How does that feel?
How does it feel? It feels it feels this weird contrast between, oh my gosh, that was days ago that we were trying to figure out the table arrangements to the wedding in the back, and I mean, you were there.
I was there.
You helped put up the fake wall.
I helped build that. Yep.
Yeah.
I've helped you build a lot of things.
Yeah, you have.
Like a door that actually got installed properly.
You don't like this door, huh?
I love this door. I just don't like that the installation wasn't complete.
I know.
Anyway, sorry. Side note,
we got a new Dutch door in our front door, and Andy, Mr. Carpenter, isn't happy with whoever else did it. Which is his way of saying, Lyndon, you should have asked me to do it.
Well, or consult on it, maybe. Watch them.
I don't know what I'm watching. That's the whole problem. That's the whole problem with naivety. You don't know what you don't know. You look at a door and it's like, oh, it closes and it shuts and the lock locks. That's cool. And then you have your neighbor come over who's another contractor and says, oh, there's no, what, I don't even know what that's called. What is it called that we need to do? Sealer.
It needs to be waterproof.
It needs to be waterproofed. I mean, who the hell knows about waterproofing?
There's a big gap between the outside and the stucco, and when it rains, water's going to get in the house.
Maybe I'll call up my contractor and ask him if that was in our bid. I don't know. Anyway, 8 years. Yes, it feels like it was just days ago that we were trying to set up the wedding, and then
it was a beautiful wedding, by the way.
It was really fun. That was super fun. We had it up in San Luis Obispo. It was in this farm. That was really cool. And it also feels like it's been so many lifetimes of experiences with Cassie. Like we have been around the world, like literally around the world together. And we've gone through births and deaths and everything in between, and not owning businesses to owning businesses together, and having no cars. We had a scooter for a little bit.
You did have a scooter.
We had a scooter until Cassie's first drive on it, and she crashed it. And then that scooter was no more.
She crashed it parking it.
Yeah, she was done with her 3-mile drive from our condo to the office. And then whilst parking it, crashed it into the fence.
Knocked the fence over.
So that was short-lived, but hey, it was exciting while it lasted. I also got a ticket on that thing.
Yeah, speed demon over here.
No, it's because I was going on the on-ramp in Dana Point, which is essentially an on-ramp straight to an off-ramp of the freeway. I was like, this is the fastest way. I'm going to do this, which means that you're quote unquote on the freeway for about 200 yards. And since it's a 149cc and you have to have 150, I think. I got pulled over and he gave me a little ticket.
A little ticket for your little scooter.
For my 200 yard. Yeah. Even though I was going faster than any other cars. Anyway. Yeah. So we've lived so much already. So it feels strange to think that we're only 8 years in and we have, another 50, 60 years to go. That'd be really cool if we lived to over 100.
Wow. Yeah. That's what that would mean, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Cassie and I were actually talking about blue zones. Do you know what blue zones are?
It's a blue zone.
Blue zones are places around the world where they have the longest living people. Oh, so people that the U.S. Did you know the U.S. average lifespan went decreased for the first time in 30 years this last year after COVID?
Yeah.
It went from 81 to 80 or something like that.
Well, that's what happens when we let all the old people die early.
I think it's actually, they equate a lot of it to fentanyl and to our opioid crisis. People are self-medicating themselves to death. So happy topics talking about our anniversary. Lyndon doesn't know how to seal a door.
Blue zones.
Blue zones. Yeah. So blue zones are places where people have lived the longest. And there's, I can't remember all the places. I know that there's Costa Rica is one of them and Greece is another one. So actually Productive Learning is thinking about doing a learning intensive in Greece and talking about blue zone, talking about the idea of longevity. Living a long
and big fat Greek retirement.
Yeah. What you mean you don't eat meat? All right, you have lamb. Yeah. So it's weird because there is like, it depends on how I look at my marriage with her. It can feel like it's been so much and it's also been so little. I would say that I am happy with the choice that I made. So I feel good about that. I'd make it over and over again.
Do you still feel like it was a choice? It's a half-hearted joke, but
well, that's an interesting question. It's an interesting question because I've looked at it that there were so many things that were set up in place where like the dominoes were set up. And so was it just my choice to push the first domino and then the rally, continued to fall? Or was, if I looked further back in the line, were they already pushed and I was just cognizant of my domino that then pushed the rest of it forward? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Because I look at like my dad was freaking conniving this thing and putting us together in different situations that I wonder what his intent was. I can tell you when I first met her, I thought she was gorgeous and I was super intimidated by her. And I also had another girlfriend, or I had a girlfriend, and she had a boyfriend. So we were not looking at
your girlfriend had a boyfriend?
No. I had a girlfriend. Cassie had a boyfriend.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
you dumped those losers.
We dumped those losers. Hope she doesn't listen to this podcast. Or if we already know she doesn't. It's only Alicia and I that listen to the podcast.
There's a couple of people who listen. Thank you for listening. We love your support.
Yeah.
And your feedback.
Yeah. Feedback to Andy@productivelearning.com. That's
all day.
Andy@productivelearning.com. So what else was there? What was I saying?
So I love Cassie's story of how we
met,
or how that domino kind of began to fall, or the one that hit you felt.
Yeah.
When she told you that she loved you. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Yeah. So when I do, thank you very much, Andy, even though my memory is shit. We were in a workshop. We were in current communications, productive learning, flagship learning vacation, typically in Hawaii. Actually, we're having it next week. And the workshop is about what are you communicating out to the world, and what is that a reflection about you? And so you're just, it's this whole week of you realized how you are mind fucking yourself and you don't even know. You realize that you are actually communicating so much more and you don't even realize it. And so once you open up your aperture of understanding what it is you're actually communicating, it is mind blowing. It's scary at some points. It can be unnerving.
Very much so.
You took it, right?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of has you rattled for a while. And then it becomes very empowering once you understand the mechanism of how how you are communicating. But at first, when you don't realize it, I mean, it feels like you're walking around with no clothes on, but you thought you had clothes on the whole time. And then you realize you don't. And you're like, holy shit, I've just spent the last X years without clothes on. Like, it has that kind of unnerving feeling because you are constantly communicating. Anyway, we were taking this workshop together, and my dad, who was the facilitator, and Cassie were having a conversation. They were in the workshop, and he was processing her through the exercise and asking questions and whatnot. And it eventually got to Cassie asked a question of something akin to, if you know that there's nothing to come of it, why would you make a communication to somebody? Like, if you know that there's nowhere to go with what the information is that I would be divulging to you, why would you make that communication? And my dad challenged the shit out of her on that one. That said, I'll get to the punch. There was more to this, but the version of it was, how arrogant of you, Cassie, to think you know what the future will hold and what other people would do with information. And so at the end of that, there was essentially a challenge. And my dad thought it was going to be a general challenge. Like, go. Cassie spoke about how it was going to be one communication to do two different people. And so my dad said, well, why don't you go make those communications and then see how it goes and see what comes of it, so that you could learn from the experience. Who knows what actually, if you know, or if you don't know, or if there's something in between. And so, my dad was assuming that this was going to be like done when she got back to the mainland, and maybe he'd get a phone call later and say, oh, I did it and whatnot. And she said immediately, her response was, okay, I'll do it at lunch. And it was like 11:50. And so it was like, this was going to happen in the next 10 minutes. And interestingly enough, both of the communications were to people in the workshop. One of which was to another guy, and the other one was to me. And long story short is she pulled me aside at lunch. She said, I have a communication to make. It is not a conversation. There's no back and forth. This is a one-way communication. And so here's my communication. She said, I love you, but it's unlike any other love that I've had before, because I have a dad and I know what that love is like. And I have a brother and I know what that love is like. And I have a boyfriend and I know what that love is like. So I guess I just really love you like I've never loved anything else. And there was a bunch of dead air. and then I was like, okay. Truthfully, in the back of my mind, I was hoping that there was something like this, because she was so hot. She's so freaking hot. And
wow.
Yeah. And she said, okay. And then she started to walk away. And I said, wait, hold on. Can I respond? And she said, no. But I said, please. And she said, okay. And I said, that's fucking awesome. And that was all we did. Oh, actually, no. Then we hugged each other. But it was the super awkward butt out hug where you're like, you look like you're making like an A in a cheerleader's, like leaning together. Like our shoulders are hugging, but our chests and our hips and our feet are getting further and further apart from each other. Yeah. So she told me that.
We don't even hug like that.
We don't even like that. No, we're practically docking. And so the next few days we flirted voraciously and ferociously and aggressively with one another. Yeah. And then she went back to the mainland, and then Mark Nicole came over, who's another trainer for productive learning. And then I was talking to him about it. and eventually it got to, well, why don't you just tell her how you feel? And then I called her up and I told her that I loved her too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like how after like 10 minutes, you said, long story short.
I know. I was going to do a short version, and then I thought it doesn't make sense because then you don't understand the context. So then I wish I would have taken out that little preface. Given
your memory of things, that is a lot of detail about that story.
Well, here's the other.
I love it.
Here's the other crazy part. So that was in like July, September. We didn't see each other in person because she lived in Northern California. I lived in Southern California. In September, we both went to the Gorge Amphitheater up in Washington State to go see Dave Matthews Band. Which was together. Because I said that this was like earlier in the year. I said, I'm going to this. And I asked all kinds of people if they wanted to go. And she was the only one that said yes. And she bought tickets on her own. I bought tickets on my own. I essentially said, I'm going to meet here if anyone wants to meet me. And she was the only one that did. This was like while she was still dating her boyfriend.
Wow.
I think I was already broken up. And so we hadn't seen each other from July to, I think, till that September. I want to say maybe we had seen. I don't remember. I don't remember. But anyway, we got there. We were walking around the amphitheater, and then I asked her to be my girlfriend, like officially asked her to be my girlfriend.
Aww.
And she said that she loved it because she had never been officially asked ever to be a girlfriend.
Really?
And she just fell into it. And then eventually, somebody in the group would say, "Are you guys boyfriend, girlfriend?" And then one would say, "Yeah, we are." Like there's not the official, "Are you my boyfriend?" or "Will you be my boyfriend? Will you be my girlfriend?" So I got major kudo points for that one. And then in the meantime, Cassie, this is where our relationship is filled with all kinds of weird magic voodoo stuff. So in the meantime, I think this was maybe right before the gorge. Cassie was friends when she was up in Northern California. She was friends with a pagan priestess, I think was her title.
Nice.
And she did all kinds of Wiccan stuff, right? And her and another girlfriend went over to the pagan priestess's house, and they were hanging out one afternoon, and they were talking about Cassie and this other girlfriend that came over. They're both talking about wanting to get into good relationships and wanting to fall in love and wanting to find Mr. Right and blah, blah, blah. And then the pagan priestess said, "Let's do a love spell."
Whoa.
And so then she did this love spell where she wrote out specifically what the guy would be like, all the characteristics and qualities and traits and blah, blah, blah. And then they probably did some, other incantations and voodoo, and then they rolled it up and then they burned it. And I think that's all that they did. Oh, and then part of it this is the cinch pin here, is that they wanted to know, they created a sign or a symbol that would let them know when they found the right one.
Yeah.
And Cassie has always loved photo booths, right? The ones where you get like the four pictures and they're top to bottom, right, and vertical. She's always loved photo booth pictures. And so she said, by December 31st, we will take a photo booth picture together. And mind you, this is in June, July, August timeframe is when Cassie has this conversation at this pagan priestess's house.
So then you're at the gorge in September.
And then we're at the gorge in September, and I ask her to be my girlfriend. And then we see each other again in like October, and she told me about doing this little spell incantation, but she said she will not tell me what the symbol is, what the thing is. And so
it's kind of like Inception.
Yeah. And
is the top still spinning?
Yeah, right. You never know. The scene cuts out. So I'm like, well, whatever. If I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. And screw this pagan priestess. I mean, who knows what she means? She could be full of shit.
Absolutely. Super skeptic.
Or yeah, exactly. And then it was in October. I think it was late October. I went over to my sister's house, who lives in San Juan Capistrano. And every year, her and her kids and her husband and her kids go to the OC Fair and do photo booths. And so there is, I think, a line of like 6 photo booth pictures year over year over year over year. And then in other parts of the house, it's just her and her husband in multiple pictures. Like that's their little thing. And of course, I've been to their house hundreds of times, and I've seen these pictures hundreds of times. But when I went to her house after Cassie and I had that conversation, I literally walked into the kitchen and looked at the same pictures on the refrigerator and had this lightning bolt epiphany moment of, oh shit, that's what Cassie wants me to do. Or not me, but that's what Cassie's symbol is.
How do you know?
I had no idea, but it was a lightning bolt, and I got weird fucking chills through my body. And I was kind of spellbound for a moment. And then I think it was November, and I remember having conversations with my dad saying, how do you know when you're in love and you want to marry somebody? Like, how do you know? Like I had those kinds of conversations, and he's like, do you have any reason why not to? And I was like, nope. So then I bought a ring without knowing even her ring size or what kind of metal she likes. And sure enough, I got the wrong kind of metal. She likes rose gold. Now I know. So anyway, she got a ring, and then I wanted to ask her dad for her hand. I wanted to be chivalrous. Can you close these doors? Because I think they're about to come in. So I wanted to be chivalrous. And so I wanted to ask her dad. And so when I did, and the only time, and I had never met him before. And
you're going to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage?
Yes. And the only time that I was going to go up there was, I think it was December 29th. We drove up there, or I drove up there and I met her. And and I was going to then, I asked him if he wanted to go have breakfast. This was then, I think at that point it was December 31st that I actually saw him. And I said, hey, can we go have breakfast? And so I knew, because I knew that I needed to go ask him and then go do the photo booth before the end of the year, December 31st, right?
That's a lot of dominoes.
Holy
really close
shit.
Together,
it was really
dude.
fucking close together. I was so stressed out. I was so dehydrated because I was sweating all the time. What I did was I asked him to go to breakfast. Mind you, he is not a morning guy and he doesn't eat breakfast. He only has coffee. So that was super fucking.
Strike one.
Yes, super awkward. I figured out where a photo booth was, which her dad lives in Novato in Northern California. And the photo booth that I found is in Petaluma, which is north by 20 minutes or something like that. And so I was like, Cassie, let's go into Petaluma and go have some lunch. That would be super cool. And then we'll go walk around. I had the whole thing fucking planned. It's fucking brilliant. So I go and have lunch with Papa Kevin, breakfast with Papa Kevin. Ask. He says, cool. Cassie gets back from her. She went to that morning, the only time that she's ever done this, with a girlfriend. She went and bought those a Groupon, and she got a pole dancing lessons. So this happened on the day that I proposed. Cassie comes back from pole dancing lessons. We go up to Petaluma. We go walk into the place where I know that there's a photo booth, and sure as fucking shit, there's caution tape around it, and broken. It is out of service and broken. I am freaking screwed. I am panicking, but I'm not trying to panic because Cassie's with me and I don't want her to know what's going on. And I am on my phone scrambling, looking for a photo booth. And we call up some of her friends, and her friends say the only photo booth that we know of is on Pier 39, which is in the Embarcadero in San Francisco proper, which is an hour and 10, 15 minutes away. And it is December 31st at 4 p.m.
Dude, this sounds a lot like Big, where they're trying to find that machine.
Yeah.
The Zoltan.
Yeah. And so I'm like, Cassie, we're going to San Francisco. And she is totally freaking confused and does not understand. But I'm so dogged, determined. She's like, okay, let's do it. So we are in the car. I don't even remember the car ride, but we were in the car for an hour and 45 minutes because of traffic and everything. Yeah. I had no idea what was going on in the car. I was probably browned out driving, you know what I mean? Just white out. And then we found a photo booth, and and it was fantastic. She messed it up. She almost messed it up at the very end.
Of course.
I knew I was going to sit on the left side, and then I had the ring on the left pocket, and I was going to pull it out, and so that the camera could see my arm and the ring. And then she's like, "Oh, I want to be on the left side because that's my good side." I'm like, and we're in this photo booth already, and how am I going to get up and exchange the ring to the other freaking pocket without her seeing?
She hates surprises.
Oh my gosh, it was difficult.
That's fantastic.
So anyway, so then we push go, and the first one was of us just smiling, and the second one was of me holding the ring out. And her face is shocked, like, huh? And then the third picture is of her like with an endearing face. Oh, and then the fourth one is of us kissing. It was
nice,
perfect, freaking perfect. And then we sat in that photo booth for an hour or something. And wow. we just chatted, and then I went and met her 6 high school / middle school girlfriends, and most of which who had spouses or at least boyfriends for the first time at a party that night. And she introduced me as her fiance.
Nice.
And they'd never met me, and I didn't know anybody's name. And they're like, Cassie, are you pregnant?
Wow, dude.
She's like, no, we're really in love. Yeah, right. What's wrong?
Jesus Christ. So what would have happened if you had taken the photo booth with caution tape around it being broken as a sign that it wasn't meant to be?
Ooh.
Like if you had read signs rather than following your own intuition, like what would that have been like?
That's very interesting. I don't know if I would have proposed.
Yeah.
I bet I would have stopped. I bet I would have second guessed myself to second guess this whole pagan priestess lady, and second guessed proposing after only dating for 3 months from Labor Day weekend to December 31st. Mm-hmm. And I would have like slowed my roll on the whole thing.
So who do you think you are that you didn't do it that way? Like you didn't you were on your hero's quest and it was just an obstacle to you. Like that's fucking incredible. Like some people would take that as this isn't meant to be, like with all the signs and all this thing and all that kind of stuff. But you didn't see it that way.
No. Yeah, no, I was
Was it just because she was so gorgeous?
She was gorgeous. Well, she's also like spellbinding in her wit and her intellect. Mm-hmm. She probably concocted the whole thing.
Just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah. Of her whole. She's the puppet master, and I'm just a puppet. Yeah, we already know that. What was going on in my mind was I was determined, and I was resolved that this is what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And if I would have not asked, or if I would have said, oh, well, we couldn't find one, and that would have started the next, progression of then not asking her or not proposing. And then who knows what would have happened after that. Mm-hmm. I think I would have regretted it. I think I would have kicked my own ass for my lack of courage. And I think that's the big,
that's one of your cores, right?
Yeah, that's one of my core values is courage, is doing things that I know in my gut are right for me or for whatever it is, even in the face of my own insecurity or my own upset or my own discomfort. Acting in spite of those emotions that say you're too scared. Don't do it. And that's not the life I would have liked to have lived. And I still do that sometimes. I'm not perfect by any means.
We know.
But it
all three of us that listen.
So even if there's let's pretend that there's 100 people that the person that listens I'm the third. No, you're not. I mean, if you want to think you're special, you could do that, but you're not. Oh, and if you have, by the way, if you guys have suggestions for what you would like to be called, please email andy@productivelearning.com. Because we want to know what we want to call you. Because we don't want to just call you listeners. back to the main program here. Yeah, I think it would have been, it's an expression of my courage, which is why I feel very proud of that story. I like it that our marriage and our love is filled with a little bit of magic and a little bit of coincidence and a little bit of providence and a little bit of, random, silly, fun, weirdness. Yeah, I like it all.
And you always got the backup plan. Cabin in the Woods with Winston, right?
Cabin in the Woods with Winston.
Fuck it.
It's always there.
Dude, that's an amazing story. You tell it so much differently than Cassie does.
Cassie does so much better. She's such a good storyteller.
She's a pretty good storyteller.
She's such a good story. She's got such the power of woo. Oh my gosh. We had people over the other night on Saturday night. There's 6 of us total with Cassie and I included. And Cassie had everyone spellbound on a story about astrology for an hour and a half. Wow. People were just asking quick questions. So why that? Oh, wait, what about this? And then she would go off on this thing. And it wasn't that people were getting like bored and like, let's go get another drink or like, let's stop and having crosstalk. Everybody was like,
enthralled.
Yeah, mouth agape, eyes wide, googly eyes at them and all this. She's amazing. And I would sit back every once in a while and look at what's happening and think, man, she can orate and own the room.
She can
command people without them feeling that they're being commanded.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's totally dangerous. Luckily, she's got an incredible heart.
She does. That's beautiful, dude.
So, yeah.
So 8 years.
8 years. That's it.
Nice.
This one would be awkward to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's talk about your mustache.
Let's talk about it, dude.
If you guys can't see, here, I'm gonna have you guys zoom in. Those of you that are watching, we're gonna zoom in on this. If you can tell, there is a definition between his mustache and the rest of his beard / goatee. It used to all just flow into one, but now he separated the mustache and the beard, and it is very Tom Selleck-y.
It kind of just naturally happened that way.
It is a thick beard. It's amazing. There's so many colors in it.
It is. It's beautiful.
Reds and grays and browns, grays, whites.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah. What possessed you to shape the mustache in?
The mustache itself, I was just getting tired of what it was doing on the sides, because like some of these hairs are really a little bit tougher and straighter, and it'd be weird to eat and like move the spoon or the fork out of my mouth and it'd get caught and weird shit. So I just trimmed it off.
Boom.
And then it just looked dead sexy, and I was like, oh yeah.
What does Karen think?
She hasn't really said anything.
Ooh, when did you do it? This morning?
No, a few days ago.
And she hasn't said anything. Do you think she's noticed?
She doesn't really notice.
Doesn't notice.
Like it takes her a couple of days to notice that I've trimmed my beard.
Oh,
so that's okay.
But she likes your beard.
Oh yeah, she loves it.
Interesting.
Absolutely loves it.
Why do you think guys have such a obsession with talking about men and their facial hair?
Envy a lot.
I think that's true.
I think there's people who look at being able to grow facial hair as a manly characteristic. Some people do.
You're probably right.
And some people's, they just can't. There's like patches of no fur hair. I've got one little one like right here.
Yeah, I get a little patch, a little bit right here. You can even see even though it's not shaved, you just see a little bit of the non-shadow where instead of the rest of the shadow. It's so strange that your body would start to express hair follicles in some places and not another.
Yeah. Like people like Johnny Depp, like you look at his.
Very strange.
It's just weird. It can look really sexy, like you could groom it nicely, but I don't know. I do have a big old Viking floofy, I don't even know, mountain man.
Keep yourself warm in the dead winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you look good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Appreciate that. It's fun.
So there's been a change in our relationship over the past few weeks.
There has. Yeah.
Yeah. You're no longer with Productive Learning.
No.
Well, you are.
Not officially.
Not officially. You're unofficially because you're doing our podcast and you will be doing our podcast for a while. So you're still there and you're still coming over on our staff get together sometimes. And you're still having Andy at Productive Learning email account. So
you got to keep the joke alive. So.
Yeah. It's not a joke. People, if you do have a suggestion, please email andy@productivelearning.com. So our relationship's different. You're no longer officially with Productive Learning. Now you're out on the job search, kind of.
Open market, I guess. Yeah.
It's kind of like you're dating.
A little bit. Yeah. It was funny. I started a 5K training program and people keep asking me, oh, what 5K are you doing? I'm like, I didn't sign up for a race. I'm just, out on the open market feeling like I need to look my best. And they're all, wait, are you no longer with Karen? And I'm like, no, I'm with Karen. I just don't have a job right now.
Does it feel like the time that you were past your ex and then before you got with Karen, here's my feeling. Before I was with Cassie, like after my ex with Kimmy, and then before Cassie, there was a very freeing feeling of I could be where I want to and go where I want to. And I'm really not touching base with anybody because there's no need to touch base with anybody because there's no one to touch base with. And it was a very freeing feeling. It was there's loneliness to it because obviously there's not like a companion. But it had a feeling that I could do what I wanted to or be who I wanted to be. Even though I could have done all these things in my relationship, there was still a feeling of like, no, I'm in a relationship, so you can't do certain things or you can't be certain ways or whatever my mind was coming up with.
Yeah.
Does this feel like that?
A little bit.
How so?
Well, I've been telling everybody that I talk to about it that I didn't realize how much of my unconscious mind was devoted to productive learning. And after, not having that any longer, it was like a huge weight out of my mind. And I felt a creative energy, a curiosity, and a determination that I hadn't really felt. It felt energizing, right? Like this effort and energy was being put to use on something specific, and now it's not. And so that's now opened up to seeing the world in a whole different way. Your family is going to town right now.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Grace is romping around and everybody's happy for her.
Nice. That's awesome.
Okay. So yeah, which was interesting because I noticed that in you as well. At least what I observed was you seemed lighter. You seemed happier.
Yeah. Lighter.
And I wouldn't have said that you weren't happy when you were working at Productive Learning.
No, not at all.
But you looked happier. You looked lighter. Yeah, you just looked lighter. I don't know how else to describe it besides you looked lighter.
Yeah, I want to say that I think that it's two parallel things that happened or have been happening. And then with the change in relationship with productive learning, along with all this work that I've been doing on myself, I was able to relate to myself in that experience in a much different way than I would have a year ago, 6 months ago, or anything like that. And so the lightness felt more natural, right? Like I've been working on the victim triangle and my victimhood and being in response to that. Had I felt like a victim in this scenario, it would have been way heavier. That was one difference that I think is attributed to all the conversations and work that I've done. And then the other thing was the possibility for me to write my own story from this point. Like I've owned my own business before. I've worked for other people. I've had a slew of different jobs in different industries and explored a whole bunch of stuff, gone to school, done a whole bunch of things, but this felt like a whole new era, like not just another chapter, maybe another book, like just a different person than I was for the last 46 years of my life. And now who I am now could be different in the world. And I'm excited about it.
That sounds super cool. Do you think that when you find a job that it would then narrow back down to the way that it was? Or is this experience that you're having right now, do you see this as continuing? Like, how does it change when you do find something?
I think when I first came to productive learning, I came because one of the biggest reasons was I hadn't really met people like you and the rest of the staff. Uh-huh. The goodness that I experienced, the ability to build a relationship without feeling feeling fear, like that was really impressive and neat. And so, but the way that I have been, I didn't want to lose that. And so given my default thinking about being worthless or unworthy or useless, I had to overcompensate for that to keep the relationships that I was building at productive learning. Mm. And so the amount of consumption that I was devoting to all the work and all the things and trying to make things better, it was just consumed within that sphere of, I don't want to lose this. So it had a tinge of have to. It had a tinge of like holding on tight. Oh. And over the last year, I think I've changed my relationship to that, and I didn't feel as heavy in that or needing that. And so as things came to an end, looking forward now to answer your question, long story long, yes, I do not believe that I will be consumed in the same way that I have been in the past, or that I was at productive learning.
And what, if we were to label what this is this a expression of a value, or is this a characteristic that you had, but now are having more clarity of what it is today's version? Like, what is this that became found out and that you hope to keep, progressing forward?
I think it's a culmination of a few things. One is my mission is slightly changing to supporting. I feel like I'm meant to be on this earth and engage with people to support their growth and their understanding of who they really are. I think I've done that, and I feel that part of how that's. Sorry, your dog is totally like distracting me with his licking. It's driving me nuts, buddy. Winston.
Stop licking yourself, Winston.
God, I'm so jealous. No, I'm just anyway, going back to what we were talking about, the values. So I think shifting my mission a bit to represent how I want to be in the world. And then the values that I've realized that I wasn't supporting myself with. We've talked about them before: love, patience, and creation. I've struggled to love myself and to break down this identity of being bad or wrong or some subhumanoid or some bullshit story that I've believed for so long. And I just feel so like the integration of that mission plus seeing myself as just who I really am has made the biggest difference. And so I don't know how else to answer your question, but maybe you've got a question to help explore that a little more.
So what are the three again? Love, patience, and creation. Yeah. So is this the expression of that? The lightness that you feel, or is that something else?
I think so.
You think it is the expression of that? Mm-hmm. And so you had, as everybody does, you have those characteristics, love, patience, and creation always. But over this last year, and then as you've left productive learning, you got even more clarity of how to express that. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think it goes back to the conversation. Yes, I think it goes back to how you described the current communications class, where there's a way that we communicate out to the world that we don't always see. And I think I've represented at different various points in my life those values of love and patience and creation. And I never had them for myself. I didn't experience them for myself. I was impatient with myself, judgmental with myself. I didn't love myself, didn't feel that I loved myself. And then I didn't feel that I had the autonomy to really create the life that I wanted to. And so now that I feel that and experience that from myself, from yourself, for yourself, I can now experience who I really am to the world.
And when you do that from yourself, for yourself, the feeling of lightness and, energy and being creative comes out. Damn, bro. That's cool.
It's pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm excited to see how this continues forward as you find other stuff, because I know you already got some part-time stuff that you're doing, and I'm wondering if as it fills in more of your time, because yours, I think you and I are similar, where even if we're not working behind the computer, our minds are on and thinking about how things can go and what it will be. So as stuff fills up your mind with more actual work hours of the week, will that then spill over, as you were saying, to like your unconscious part of your mind and then be there, or will it still leave this feeling of lightness? I'm super excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, me too.
Cool, dude. Right on. That sounds like a good wrap.
Sounds like a perfect place to stop.
Episode 18, success.
Boom.
Bye, all you. See, we need names for these people. Listeners,
wonderful human beings.
Bye, all you so boring. Bye, all you. See, what did I say on my email? Sexy people? No, you chivalrous chaps or something.
Oh my goodness, dude. We need some more creativity over here. Please help us out.
Please help us.
Let us know what you want to be called.
And do that by emailing Andy@productivelearning.com. I hope there's bots online that are just picking up your email address, and they're just going to get so much junk mail. All right, guys. See you later. Hope you get laid more. Bye-bye.
That's right.